Okay, so out in the snow, and I come across an IS-3. This has got to be one of the coolest places in the world. There's another IS-3. Hi all, this is Skate, and as some of you know, I went to Russia just before Christmas, courtesy of Wargaming, and basically what I'm going to be doing is logging the entire event in this video. I have some pretty epic footage of some pretty epic tanks, although I will say some of the footage is pretty shaky because, holy crap, it was cold. In that first short bit of footage, walking around the IS-3, it was minus 18, which, take your glove off to record, and my hand was literally numb within a few minutes. So I had to put my glove back on, take the other glove off, and pretty much rinse and repeat that process every few minutes. I will say though, well worth the experience. Now the first couple of photos you've seen here are from the day we arrived in Russia, in Moscow. And as you can see from the picture on the screen now, it was snowing really heavy, which was really cool actually. It really added to the, well, the whole damn cold Russia thing. I may mention the cold several times in this video. It was very, very cold, and that was a big steak knife, so I had to take a photo of it. So one of the first things we did was pretty much meet all the other contributors. You had people like One and Only, Quickie Baby. We also had Daxia, who is more commonly known for running the channel What Blitz Replays, Harkonnen, from the dailybounce.net, and many, many other contributors. Pretty much every contributor I've met, or I met on this occasion, I have put a link to their channel in the description below. I've met several other contributors previously, Quickie Baby and Daxia as examples. Really nice guys, so it was nice to see some familiar faces after travelling to a country by myself, not knowing anybody. Now, aside from them, I met some other contributors which I haven't met before. Also a great bunch. One of them included One and Only. Now, I'm a huge fan of his videos. He's an epic guy as well. So truth be told, I was a little nervous to meet him. But me and Daxia were standing in the hall, or lobby, whichever you prefer, of this hotel, and we saw these other guys waiting around. So we asked them, are you contributors and are you waiting for Wargaming? They said, yeah. So being as we were waiting for so long, we all decided to go venture off, go have a look in that mall, which you've seen in those photos just now. Basically chatting about the travelling, the joys of the visa process, etc, etc. We spent a couple of hours chatting, and it was only after about 3 hours of chatting to these guys that we basically say, well, what's your username? Now, at this point, obviously, he turned around and said, Taste a Bomb, or One and Only 16. Now, as I mentioned, I'm a huge fan of his videos, so I didn't expect him to say that, and as a result, I literally just went, holy crap, I've just spent the last 3 hours hanging out with him, and I didn't even ask his username. The guy is an absolute legend in my book, and it was an absolute pleasure to meet him. If you don't know his channel, A, I'm very surprised, and B, there's a link in the video description, make sure you check it out. He easily makes the funniest World of Tanks videos. In this video though, you'll see no reference to who he is or his face. The reason being is he has promised his subscribers and his fans that he will do a face reveal at Tankfest 2017, so he wants to keep it hush-hush until then. I respect that wish because he's a really nice guy. We spent pretty much the entire time hanging out, along with Daxia and a couple of others. And obviously there was the Wargaming staff as well. Now, I need to say a big massive thanks to the Wargaming staff for inviting me on this little adventure. If it wasn't for them inviting me, and you guys watching my videos actually, I wouldn't have gone. So massive thanks to everybody who got me to Russia. So the reason we were in Russia was for Wargaming Fest. But obviously while we were in Russia, took it as an opportunity for us all to go sightseeing, get to know each other better, and go to Kubinka. Now Kubinka is the biggest tank collection in the world, and oh my god, they have some epic tanks, and I have some epic footage of that to show you. So we're 5 minutes in, and I have shown pretty much nothing but an IS-3 and loads of touristy photos. So let's go on to Wargaming Fest. Now this is the first year they've held Wargaming Fest, and they said it would be the biggest event they ever thrown. And it was, I gotta give it to him, it was huge. Wargaming Fest was put together by the Russian team, and as a result certain things were taking place which even the EU team didn't know about, including this that you can see on the screen right now. You'd be forgiven for thinking it's the Twister Cup or something like that. It's not. This is the RU finals to the Blitz Brawls. As they knew they were having Wargaming Fest coming up, the RU team decided they would have an all-out massive live event. And I got to watch it all. You saw I had that funky little VIP badge, which I was very happy to receive, which meant I could go up in this area above all the crowd and get some good footage of it. And it was really nice to see the Blitz wasn't just tucked away into one corner. And I'm really hoping we see a lot more of this Blitz being held on a big live stage. Not just in the RU, but in the other regions more frequently. So let's see what the future holds on that side of things. Now, aside from the Blitz finals, there was also the Wargaming League finals, which, as you can see from the crowd, it was a bit busier. And it was insane to watch live. For obvious reasons, I have not got a clue what they are saying, but it's a tank battle. I can tell what's going on. I'll turn the volume up just for a little bit of this clip so you can get an idea of what the atmosphere was like in this place. Obviously you can see the way it was jam-packed. Aside from the live events, they also had talks with the devs directly. Two guys on the screen at the moment, you may have seen the live stream, basically are giving a description of things to come in Blitz.
2017. The first thing that is coming in January is the lunar event. So those of you who play Blitz, who were playing Blitz in January, you probably remember how we celebrated Chinese New Year with the Type 62 Dragon, which is the one you can see here. Well, this year we are going to go even further with our lunar event, and we are going to celebrate Chinese New Year with an epic event with epic content. Unfortunately, I cannot give you much more details than that at the moment. Just make sure you stay tuned in January, as we will share more information on the game's portal. It's the French line. So the French line is finally coming into Blitz. Like I said, it has been a long-awaited edition by the players. What I can say is that this line will start with the Renault FT and will end with the AMX50B. And an exclusive piece of information for you, they are coming in Q1 2017. So thank you everyone, that's all for me. If you have questions or anything.
To sum up this talk in short, basically, if you missed it in there, there's a big lunar event coming in January to celebrate Chinese New Year. And the French line is coming in the first quarter of 2017. Also, great news, I can confirm that World of Tanks Blitz will have a replay system coming in this year as well. And there is some, oh my god, amazing stuff coming, I can confirm that. Details, they won't disclose or allow me to disclose. But I can promise you, I am super excited for some of the content this year. Now, although they won't let me say, what I can say is I'm not a fan of the futuristic stuff. I do enjoy playing some of the tanks, but I'm not a fan of them. I like the historical stuff a lot. So I'm super excited for the year coming up. That's all I gotta say. Now, the other cool part of Wargaming Fest was, oh my god, it's Dolph Lundgren. I got to meet this guy. Now, I grew up watching films with him in. Obviously, you got Rocky, then you got more modern ones like The Expendables. So being able to meet Dolph Lundgren, it was just unreal. Getting to see how everything happens behind the scenes, obviously interviews, everything like that. I've never done it before. And obviously, that's my ugly mug there. Got a photo with Dolph Lundgren to remember the event. And I just need to thank one and only for this photo. I have no idea what I'm doing. But screw it, I thought you could all have a laugh at my facial expression in this photo. Just a couple of other photos. Obviously, Quickie Baby and Pep. I'm sure they don't need any introduction. Neither does this guy, Meathead Militia. He works for Wargaming. He is absolutely hysterical. And Daxia, who is What Blitz Replays. He is brilliant. Where we were standing in this VIP area watching the show, the spotlight kept catching him. Rather than move, he got his shades on and started waving to the crowd. It was hysterical, I must admit. And then we have this bunch. This is the Wargaming staff. And yes, they are as insane as they look. And there was also this guy walking around in some form of... Well, it's a T-34, we know that. And it looks like some form of T-34 Transformer costume, which is pretty cool. And for me, probably one of the strangest things of the event. Did you know Wargaming make cars? In some shape or form, this is the What Patriot. And it's pretty much just full of World of Tanks logos. And this is actually a car you can buy in Russia. Yeah, so very strange. Okay, so obviously I've covered Wargaming Fest in short, but this to me was probably the most exciting part of the entire time in Russia. Kubinka. And as I mentioned at the start, oh my god, what a place. Again, apologies for any shaky camera work, it was damn cold. So we've got here a T-34-85. Just on the left there, that was an IS-2. And that in the background is Adam, which was a huge artillery piece. It's what's behind Adam which excited me though, as you will tell from the video footage here. You ready for the big one? We got that monster. There it is. It's a mouse. Oh my god. Holy shit. I literally could not get over the size of this thing. Now, for perspective, I'm 5'10", and I am standing on my tiptoes, reaching as high as I can, and I'm only just touching the turret. That hole there is where the Russians were testing the armor on the mouse and shooting at it. And pretty much this is just me walking around the mouse. The damn thing is huge. I could not get over it. And as it's the only one in the world, it was amazing to be able to see this. Again, please bear in mind it was -18, which is why I am breathing like a weirdo. And then aside from, obviously, the mouse, this monstrosity of an artillery piece with probably the biggest caliber gun I've seen. And look, box tank, SU-100Y. I literally walked around this museum like a kid at Christmas. This then is the SU-152. And then next to it you can see an ISU-122. Now, I've played a lot of battles in some of these tanks. But seeing them in the metal, or flesh, whichever you want to refer to it as. Ah, wow, it was just bonkers. It's... the size of them, the size of a 152 caliper, I cannot describe it. They are friggin' enormous. I mean, look at the gun. Now, the keen-eyed among us would have already gone, oh my god, there's a 704 in the background. Yeah, I literally couldn't stand next to one tank, because I'd stand next to one and notice what's next to it, and I'd get all excited and move along again. Now, I hoped to do some commentary actually on the video, but you'll notice there's nobody around. Except a security guard on every single door. And Russian security guards, they are not the friendliest looking people. So walking through a museum, trying to talk to yourself, it's probably the best way to go about getting shot. Now this is an IS-4, and if you look at the concrete on the bottom right, the weight of this tank has actually cracked and fractured all the concrete. Now these were a couple of tanks I was really excited to see, but what I was most excited to see, aside from the mouse and the box tank, was an IS-7. It is exactly like I imagined it to be. Now the tanks in-game aren't all to the scale they should be. The IS-7 is. It's not an overly tall tank, it's a very long tank, and the sloping on that armour. It's so intimidating to look at it. I mean, you can see the thickness on that frontal plate. With that sloping, yeah, there's no chance of pretty much anything penetrating that head-on, which is exactly as it is in-game. Now, most of these tanks in this warehouse here are prototypes. Like this. This is an Object 770. We don't have this in Blitz. It's a tank I would like to see come. This even more so. This is the Object 416, which they've got as a Tier 8 medium tank in the PC variant. And then you've also got weird tanks like this. This is an Object 279. It's obviously got twin tracks on either side. Probably the bounciest hull you have ever seen, and this would be the most OP tank ever if it came into the game. Thankfully, I don't think there's ever going to be any intention of that. I've turned the volume off on the video at the moment, only because there was a strange buzzing noise in this area of the warehouses, and as a result, it would just spoil the video even more than my shaking and heavy breathing. This, by the way, though, is an IS-8, or IS-8? T10, as is correctly designated.
T10.
I'm going to show you a tank opposite, which almost looks identical, but it's not. The one opposite is an Object 266. Well, actually, this is an Object 268, which is, if you didn't know, the Object 268 Tier 10 is built on the IS-8 hull. Which is why it's so mobile for such a big tank. But this is the Object 266, which looks almost identical to an IS-8, but it's not. It's closer in prototype stages to the IS-5, or Object 730. Now this is just one of the warehouses of several they had like this. And I came to realise one thing I've never thought about. We have a lot of Russian tanks in the game, and they bring in a lot of Russian tanks into the game, which we moan about, complaining is Russian bias. Yeah, sorry, look at the size of that barrel. Anyway, what I was explaining, though, was the Russians were at the forefront and pioneering of tanks. As a result, they had a shed ton of different types of tanks, different prototype stages, and they actually built so many different prototypes that it just allows Wargaming to easily put them into the game, because there is just so many to choose from. But by here, that was just a T-44 then, and this is the Su-101. I never really thought of that with these Russian tanks until we actually got to this place, or I got to this place, and saw how many different ones they had. Even ones I never heard of. Here, by the way, we have a T-54. You'll notice the turret is pretty much the standard turret what we would find in-game, or the stock turret. It's an early T-54. Then as we go up the line, you'll see the turret has changed to the more commonly known T-54 turret. And then next to it, we have a different designation of T-54. This is a T-54A.
T-54A.
Again, seeing these things in real life, they're a lot bigger T-50. I've seen a T-55 in real life anyway, but standing next to them and going up the generations, so to speak, and sorry, just gotta stop, it's a T-54-122. I love this tank, and it looks really mean when you see it in the metal. I keep saying in the flesh, because that's something you usually say, but seeing these things in the metal.
It is freezing, people.
Also, one of the strangest T-54s I have seen.
Jesus Christ, it is cold.
And yes, I would like to see that thing brought in as a premium tank. It would be so OP. Also, you'll see we've moved further up the generations now. This is a T-55, which for all intensive purposes is a T-54, just refined and improved here and there. this next one then is a heavily up-armoured T-55. It was called the T-55AM. And then next to it, with that dumpy little thing, is the Object 483. I can't find any information on this tank, really, and I think it's for obvious reasons. It's probably not a popular tank, especially when you just look at something like a T-55 again. They are monstrous-looking machines. And then, obviously, at the very end of the line, we have the T-62. Now, you're probably expecting something like an Object 140 next to this, but it's not. This is an Object 167. For all intensive purposes, it's a T-62 with alterations. Minor. Now, little bit of a funny story here, so I'm going to hand you over momentarily to the in-camera me, because I did try to explain this in my own little video, which I was going to put up. Yeah, funny story, so here we go.
Look at all that. God damn, it is cold. Yeah, so I lost Wargaming, and I can't go solo on this one. It's so surreal. Nobody speaks English. I got a taxi here from Moscow, and yeah, it's cold. Check out the T-64A though. I also have no idea how I'm getting back. I will update it in this video. It's so strange. Check this one out though, Object 775. You think the T-62's got no gun depression?
So, slightly embarrassing story, but I'm going to share it anyway. The shuttle leaving the hotel to get to this museum, which is about an hour and a half's drive, was leaving at 9 AM Russian time, which is 6 AM UK time. So I set my alarm for, obviously, this time, but I didn't take into account my phone had changed for the time zone. So I woke up 3 hours before we needed to go. I was bored, so I went for a walk, got back to the hotel. Obviously my alarms weren't set, and I fell back asleep. I then woke up again, half an hour after the shuttle left. Now I had two choices, either mope around the hotel, or somehow find my own way across, through Moscow, out into the Moscow district to this museum, which I assumed Wargaming would still be at. Check out the Hetzer, by the way, and a Panther coming up after it. And a stirrer meal. I was so excited to see that tank. It is massive. After much faffing about, I managed to get a taxi driver to get me to the main entrance to this tank museum. But he refused to drive down this big snowy path, and as a result he dropped me off and I walked. I got to the main gate of the museum by myself after walking down this long path. The security guard spoke no English whatsoever. I spoke no Russian whatsoever. And this place won't let foreigners in without knowing exactly who you are and everything about you, pretty much. I tried to explain to him that basically Wargaming are already in here and I'm with them. And after about 15 minutes of explaining this, I pulled a bit of paper out of my bag with the Wargaming logo on, and then it was as easy as that, he let me in. Wargaming, though, had already left. So Wargaming, all the other contributors had been here, and they'd gone to somewhere else. So I had no idea how I was getting back from here at this point in time. But, being as I was here, as you could tell by my reaction in the video at the time, I just enjoyed the tanks. Check out this funky little IS ball as well. And it was after doing this bit of footage here, where I go to see the mouse, and then security come over to get me. Now, they don't speak English, they pretty much just made me follow them. Now, when I get to security, he goes behind the counter, makes me sit down, goes to get a phone, and then hands me the phone, and at the other end of it is one of the heads in Wargaming. He was confused to hell and back as to how I A, got to the museum, and B, got into the museum. Basically, although intimidating and scary looking and scary sounding, the Russian security guard explained to him that one of the group had been left behind. Also, look how cute the Tetrarch was. It was so small. But what they explained to me on the phone was they were only 15-minute drive away in a place called Patriot Park. And that they were sending someone to get me. I waited in the security office for about 25 minutes. Someone rocked up and took me to this Patriot Park, to where all of Wargaming were, and all of the other contributors. Most of them were pretty shocked as to how I got there. So I pretty much explained this story, how I was in Russia, and I wasn't going to miss out on the opportunity to go to this place, so I thought I'd make my own way there, hoping Wargaming would still be there, not realising they had gone already. So it's an embarrassing story, it's a funny story, I still got to see the tanks, and I met up with Wargaming in Patriot Park. Where, yes, you guessed it, there was more tanks. I really hope you enjoyed my stupid story, but it was funny. When I got to this park, though, this is what I was greeted with. A shed ton of snow, fighter jets, helicopters, tracked vehicles, and tanks. When I got inside, there was a Ferdinand, and as you can see, there's people. A KV-85. There were so many cool tanks here, by the way. We had the captured Tiger they have. Also, they had a Tiger 2 here. And I am informed this was a tank where the ammo rack went off. So, yeah, that's what a tank looks like when the ammo rack goes. And this beautiful machine is the Nashorn. Now, I know the Nashorn doesn't have a lot of fans, or the Nashorn, whichever you want to call it, by the way. I personally love it, though. And then next to it, a Tiger 2, which they really weren't fond of, the Russians weren't. They pretty much told us every bad thing you could possibly imagine about the Tiger 2. As with when I went to Bovington, they said how much of a brilliant tank it was, how much of a beast it was, etc, etc. It's surprising the different views. But then on this side, we have a Jag Tiger. And then next to it, you can see already a Jag Panther. Which, to the Russians, they said the Jag Panther is easily the best tank destroyer of World War II. And then next to it, if you don't know what that is or haven't seen it before, that's a Sturm Tiger. Basically, it could take out a building with that, I'm not even going to call it a shell. It was a 380mm breech-loading rocket launcher. The shell, they told us, weighed 376 kilograms, or 829 pounds, which is just ridiculous. And there's the oh-so-beautiful T-3485, and this is the inside of an Su-100, which looks surprisingly spacious, actually. I was expecting it to be minuscule in size. Again, in the game, you get a wrong perspective of the size of a tank, but the Su-100 is deceivingly big. You've then got this, which is a T-34 they pulled out of a river. Now, they left it exactly as they pulled it out of the river, including, if you're looking inside the hatch there on the right, yes, the ammo is still in it, I swear to God. It's just insane. But this is exactly as they pulled it out from the river. Basically, this tank was shot through the track wheel, which is a bit of footage now. I say now, after this. There's a bit of footage showing where the shell went through the wheel, through the side of the hull, and pretty much took the tank out, and the crew abandoned the vehicle and had another tank push it into the river so it couldn't be captured. You know, considering this thing lay at the bottom of a river for a long period of time, it's not in bad condition. We also had a Russian guide and translator. So they gave us lots of interesting information on the tanks, and I have recorded some of that to share. So here's a bit on the ISU.
Was thrown away for 25 meters. And from small tanks almost nothing was left. Later, last time when they used it, on Chernobyl catastrophe in 1806 they used it. With similar vehicles, forced energo block was destroyed. They use it in Chernobyl.
От предшественника здесь была установлена более мощная 85-миллиметровая пушка.
It has more powerful 85 millimeters gun.
Теперь на расстоянии 700-500 метров мы хоть как-то могли бороться с немецкими новыми танками.
And in the distance 700, 500 meters, да?
Да.
In the distance 700-500 meters we could fight with the German tanks.
Была установлена новая башня,
So new turret, no new tower was put up here.
и был добавлен новый член экипажа как наводчик.
And also one more member of crew, aimer.
Данный танк стоял у нас на вооружении до 93 года.
And we use it up to 1993 in the Soviet Union. Up to 1993 we use this tank.
And I think that's pretty much where I'm going to wrap this video up. Otherwise, we're already at half an hour, and I will take a shed load more time explaining every single little thing. But I hope you have enjoyed the video and my ridiculous story. I need to say a huge thank you to Wargaming for taking me on this event, and it was great to meet everybody there. Any contributors watching this video, it was great to meet you. Same with the staff as well, and thank you again to all the people who do watch my videos, because without you guys, it would be something I would never be able to do. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Normal service will resume with normal gameplay videos as soon as possible, and I'll catch you all soon. Bye-bye.